Okay, well, many days have passed, and I finally found a day where it's both daytime and I don't feel terrible. So, where are we at? We're going to check the torque on the engine here, and I actually have my manual here to tell me where to start. So we'll start with 22 foot-pounds, and then if none of those move, then we'll go up to 43 foot-pounds, and if none of that moves, then there's no point in repeating any of the tests. Speaking of the tests, I left off on the other video kind of clumsily, I think. I didn't realize I didn't tape as much as I thought I did. But the results of the leak down test, I think I mentioned that cylinders 3 and 4 were leaking audibly into the half-empty radiator. You could hear it very distinctly. So those definitely have an issue. But what I don't think I mentioned was the actual numbers I got from the leak down test. They were all slightly negative, which means something's not working right. And I've read websites and articles, and I've watched YouTubes, and everybody pretty much does the leak down test the same as what I did, except theirs gives actual numbers. So I'm thinking that my leak down tester has a fault, and I'm thinking what it is when I bring the regulator up so that the leak gauge reads 0, there's an awful lot of leakage happening out of the quick connect, and then when I hook it up to the engine, that leak goes away, but then we're measuring the leak in the engine. So I think what's happening is that the cylinders are actually leaking slower than the tester is when the tester is not hooked up. So I think the tester needs to be repaired, which is too bad because I just bought it. I mean, this is the only thing it's ever tried to work on. I did some looking around. Apparently these guys are stock and these guys are replacements. So I think the guy who rebuilt the engine 3 years ago reused 6 of the old bolts and was able to find 4 equivalents, and that may not have worked good enough. Head gasket leaking. So I've also been putting a lot of thought into the behavior of the engine before all this happened. So I'm thinking, with the coolant disappearing but not showing up anywhere that I could see for months before this all happened, I think that it was leaking into cylinders 3 and 4 and then being blown out the exhaust, and that's where it was going. And it wasn't until the engine overheated that we got some coolant contamination into the oil. So I'm guessing that the gasket wasn't sealing quite right, and then when the engine overheated, probably the head warped a bit, and that's where the leakage into the oil came from, because that was like brand new that day, and that was the last time this engine was run. Okay, well, I also learned just now that you have to take the oil pump shaft out in order to get to number 2, and the manual has a little thing. They try to trip you up here. They turn the engine picture upside down. So timing gears here, timing gears there, right? So in order to orient that to the engine, You have to turn the book upside down. It's kind of a dirty trick. So what did I discover from checking the torques? Number one actually moved a little at 22 foot-pounds. Maybe a couple others might have. When I bumped it up to 43 foot-pounds, they all moved at least a little bit, some of them quite a bit, except for 9 and 10. 9 or 8 and 10. 8 and 10. So I don't know what that means. I don't know how to interpret that. But I'm going to go ahead and put the oil pump shaft back in for now, and I'm going to see if I can fix my leak down tester and redo that test. I also discovered that the new and old bolts are kind of randomly placed, so I thought it was like old, new, new. But we got a new one, an old one, new one, old one, old one, old one, new one, new one, new one. And I have no idea why the guy put them in there like that, because it certainly didn't make for easy torquing, because I had to keep switching between the bit and the socket. So that's a little annoying, but yeah, it is what it is. Okay, I've been fiddling with this guy. I think I've come up with a solution, I hope. So, as you can see, I got it all set up to 0, and you can hear I'm holding this up to the thing. It is no longer leaking. So what I noticed is there's a little O-ring right there and nothing else. So I wrapped it in a whole bunch of Teflon tape. I also accidentally discovered that this part can screw off of this part. So I took that apart and put Teflon tape on those threads. And also there was a little conical spring that I think fit better the other way around, so I went ahead and flipped it over, because it just didn't look right the way it came apart. So that's all back together, and this is only hand tight. I didn't tighten it with any tools. I untightened it with tools, but I didn't tighten it with any tools. And now I can attach this to, say, hang on, a tire inflator chuck, and we're getting a positive number, okay, with that. And then if we start losing pressure, isn't that neat? We're finally getting positive numbers. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. So I'm ready. I'm just because I want to learn how this works, I'm going to go ahead and redo the leak down test on the car and see what kind of results I get. Also, I want to take another listen based on the fact that I was able to tighten most of those head bolts, which seems kind of odd. I mean, head bolts aren't supposed to loosen over time, are they? I'm pretty sure that's the whole point of the torque to yield thing. But then again, some of those head bolts I think are old. I don't think the mechanic was able to replace all of them. I think he replaced some of them. Anyway, so I'll come back when I get that figured out. Okay, here's the results with the fixed leak down tester and the retorqued head bolts. I got 10%, 10%, 9%, 8%. I mean, that's, that's a guess based on what that gauge looks like, right? Anyway, but I got real numbers, not, weird negative percentages this time. So I think fixing that leak in the whatever it is really helped. Also, I couldn't hear any leaks anywhere, not even from 3 and 4, cylinders 3 and 4. So I'm confused now. I don't know what to do. I'm thinking what this means is if you retorque the cylinder head and your leaks go away, then it's most likely not a cracked block, and it's most likely not a cracked head, but it could still be a warped head or a leaky gasket, head gasket. But if the leaks are gone, what do I do? Do I replace the gasket anyway? Do I take the head off and check it for flatness? Do I put it back together and just see if I continue to leak or lose coolant? Do I put a little bit of leak stop in, since the leak doesn't seem to be a huge thing? I don't know. I'm confused at this point and I don't know what to do next. So I'm gonna, wherever I am in video length, I'm going to end it here and publish it and ask folks on various forums and see what they have to say, because I don't know what to do from here. So I'll put this up, see if I get any feedback from other people. If not, I'll just make up my own next step, and if I do get feedback, I will seriously consider it. I guess the moral of the story, partially, is when you buy a new leak down tester, make sure your tester hose isn't leaky, or it will screw up your readings. I hope you found this entertaining. I can't imagine anybody found this informative, other than what might go wrong with your leak down tester. And thanks for watching.